To understand the true function of the modern education system, we have to look at its history. Most schools as we know them today were designed during the Industrial Revolution. At that time, the priority was not to train free or creative thinkers, but rather obedient, punctual, and predictable workers, ready to integrate into factories and offices. That is why rigid schedules, strict obedience, and memorization of information are prioritized, instead of creativity, curiosity, or critical thinking. From a young age, students learn to follow rules to the letter, to wait for orders, and to complete repetitive tasks. The idea that obedience is more important than initiative is reinforced. The result of this system is clear: efficient people for specific jobs, capable of following instructions, but less prepared to question systems, innovate, or make independent decisions. It's a model that works for order but limits the ability to think beyond the established scheme. Interestingly, education critics such as John Taylor Gatto, a former American teacher, noted that the modern school kills children's natural curiosity and creativity. For Gatto, the system not only teaches academic content, but shapes behavior, conformity, and obedience, much more than free thought. Simply put, education doesn't just convey knowledge, it also teaches how to be part of a system that often prefers obedient workers over independent thinkers. Standardized tests are one of the most used tools in the education system, but do they really measure what we need to learn? The truth is that these tests do not test real intelligence, creativity, or practical skills. They mainly measure memory and the ability to follow instructions to the letter. From a young age, students learn to memorize information to answer questions, sometimes without truly understanding what they are learning. This generates anxiety, artificial competition, and stress, creating an environment where passing becomes more important than learning. A common example: a student can memorize dates, formulas, or concepts for an exam, pass with a good grade, and forget it the next day. What should be a process of deep learning becomes an exercise of obedience and repetition, not understanding or critical thinking. In addition, this model encourages competition between students rather than collaboration and creativity. In essence, standardized tests reward conformity and the ability to reproduce information, not intelligence or initiative. So, while passing exams may seem like an achievement, it doesn't always reflect what you really know or how you can apply that knowledge in real life. Beyond what is taught in books, there is a hidden curriculum in education. It doesn't appear on syllabi or exams, but it has a profound effect on how we think and act. From a young age, students learn unwritten rules, respect authority without questioning it, follow routines without protesting, and adapt to established hierarchies. These lessons, although subtle, shape behaviors and attitudes much more than academic content. In other words, school doesn't just teach math, history, or grammar. It also teaches obedience, conformity, and adaptation to the system. This prepares students to fit into a work and social world that in many cases prefers people who follow instructions rather than question processes. Even when critical thinking is promoted, rigid structures and constant evaluation limit true independence of thought. The educational system, inadvertently or intentionally, reinforces the stability of the existing social and economic system, instead of developing individuals capable of innovating or challenging it. In short, while you appear to be learning content, you are also being trained to accept predefined norms and roles, something most students don't even notice until years later. Education is not the same for everyone. Although we talk about a single system, the reality is that access to quality education depends a lot on the place where we are born and the socioeconomic level of our family. For example, private schools or those located in privileged areas often offer resources, critical thinking classes, technology, and extracurricular opportunities. Meanwhile, many public schools face a lack of materials, limited infrastructure, and academic programs focused only on passing exams. This means that from a young age, students not only learn different content, but they learn very different life skills. While some develop creativity, critical thinking, and confidence, others only learn to memorize and obey. The result? Education, instead of leveling opportunities, ends up reproducing social inequalities. The same structures that should empower everyone, in reality, maintain hierarchies and limit social mobility. Simply put, the education system is not neutral. It favors those who already have privileges and limits those who are born in less favorable conditions. Now that we understand how the education system works, the question arises, what can we do to not just be part of this compliance machine? First, self-taught education. Don't limit yourself to what school teaches. Read, research, take online courses, and learn about what really interests you. Learning for yourself strengthens critical thinking and autonomy. Second, develop practical skills. Personal finances, communication, problem-solving, entrepreneurship, things that traditional school rarely teaches, but are fundamental for real life. Third, question and analyze. Don't accept everything that you are taught as absolute truth. Question, debate, compare, and build your own conclusions. This allows you to transform knowledge into wisdom and not just memorized information. Fourth, take advantage of alternative resources. The internet, learning communities, study groups, podcasts, and documentaries are tools that allow you to expand your education beyond the walls of the school. Simply put, education does not end at school. Taking control of your learning and focusing on real skills is the key to being free, creative, and able to decide for yourself beyond what the system has taught you to obey.